It is the time of the week when we are joined by Stephanie Dobson. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hank Divorce Law and Mediation, offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks again, Stacey, as always.
We're going to be talking about filing for divorce today. And this is something that can be complicated for people because there is a lot that is involved. So specifically, we're going to be talking about Alberta and Saskatchewan procedures. So let's start out by just in generally, how do you file for divorce?
So filing for divorce involves an application to one of the superior courts in the province where you or your former partner has lived for at least 1 year. So this could be where you lived or where the other party has lived, but it has to be for at least 1 year. So in Alberta, that court is called the King's Bench of Alberta, and in Saskatchewan, it's called the King's Bench of Saskatchewan, but they have different names in each of the provinces. So once you've figured out the right province, then you need to go drill down a little bit more to figure out the proper region where you need to file. So there's St. Paul is the region for Lloydminster, Wainwright, Cold Lake, and the surrounding areas. And for those of you on the Saskatchewan side, it's Battleford. So that would be for Lloydminster, Meadow Lake, Battleford, and Cutknife, and other sort of those surrounding areas.
Okay, and we're going to go kind of step by step here. So let's start with the Alberta side of things, Stephanie. So once this has started, how does it work for those on the Alberta side?
So there's a number of documents that need to be completed by either you or your lawyer to have the divorce application process. So that application will start with what's called a statement of claim for divorce, or if there's division of family property that needs to be resolved, then it's called a statement of claim for divorce and division of family property, quite a mouthful. If you have children that are under the age of 16, there's a free e-course that needs to be taken called the Parenting After Separation seminar, and that certificate needs to actually be filed with the court. And you'll also have to file your official government issued marriage certificate. So that's the one that if you got married in Alberta, that's one that you would have received from registries in Alberta, or if you got married in another province, sometimes they're available online, but you actually have to order that certificate. If you do have issues to resolve, you need to negotiate those either through out-of-court processes, like we've talked about a million times, collaborative law or mediation, or you have to actually go into court to have a judge decide those issues for you. But that's the thing that takes a lot of the time. Then once issues have been resolved, it just simply needs to be submitted to the court. So there's no physical appearance in court to complete the divorce. It just has to be paperwork that gets submitted.
Okay, and let's talk about the Saskatchewan side of things. Obviously, when Lloydminster, we always have to deal with cross-border issues and things are different on each side. So let's go into the Saskatchewan now information, Stephanie.
Yes, so there's a lot of things that are very similar between the provinces, but what I'll do is I'll just point out the differences. So there's, of course, a number of documents that need to be completed. On the Saskatchewan side, it's called a petition, and then you just check off in the petition what you're actually looking for, whether it's division of family property or no division of family property. There's quite a few more documents on the Saskatchewan side that are required than on the Alberta side, but irrespective, there's a number of documents. There's also a parenting after separation e-course that needs to be completed for most people, and then the marriage certificate. But the difference in Saskatchewan is that with the marriage certificate, they will actually accept the marriage certificate from the wedding ceremony, whereas in Alberta, you have to actually order it from the registry's agent. So if it's same as in Alberta, you need to get all your issues resolved, you out of court or in court, and then file everything through the court process, but you don't actually have to have an appearance in court if you've got all of your issues resolved.
Okay, and what are the waiting periods, Stephanie, for this process in Alberta and Saskatchewan?
So there's two different waiting periods I want to talk about. The first one is the actual eligibility to finalize your divorce. So you have to prove to the court that there's been what's called a marriage breakdown. I know we've talked about that language in previous episodes. So most people, to establish that marriage breakdown, will use 1 year of having been separated in order to establish that marriage breakdown. So that's one of the time periods. And then once you have your initial documents filed in court, whether that's a statement of claim in Alberta or a petition in Saskatchewan, then you have to serve the other party with those documents, and there's a waiting period before you can proceed to the finalization of everything. So the waiting period in Alberta is somewhere between 20 days and 2 months. And in Saskatchewan, that waiting period is somewhere between 1 to 2 months. And those just depend on certain circumstances. Of course, it's complicated as always.
All right. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for that information, and we'll be back to talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Stacey.